Hi everyone, I'm Walter from Australia.
John from America.
Sam from England.
And Chantal from South Africa.
And today we thought we'd talk about some more experiences of us living in Korea, specifically talking about working in Korea. Now we've all been working in Korea for quite a long time, I think, more than 5 years at least. Well, how long have you been working?
Not 3, yeah.
3.5.
Wow, it feels longer than that. How many years have you been working? 5.
5.
Not long enough.
That's not that long.
Yeah.
That's not that long.
It feels like 20 years.
It feels like 20 years. Yeah. And I've been working here for almost 8 years now. Okay. So we're going to start with the baby of the group, I think. The one who's been working here the least. And then we'll probably move on to, I think, maybe John and then Chantal and then myself.
Okay.
Sam, tell me a little bit about your experience while working in Korea.
Working in Korea, it's only been 2 years, it's almost 3.
Okay.
And that has flown by. So I've been in just one company. I don't know about all of you, but this company, it's been really nice. It's a bit more flexible than the company I worked for back in England. I mean, if anybody didn't know, we're English teachers.
Yeah.
Korea in general is more like hierarchical. It's definitely kind of strict in terms of, you know, your boss is your boss. Do what your boss says.
Right.
Don't answer back. So in England, I could definitely kind of throw out my complaints a bit more. But for this job, it's been really nice.
Did you work full-time in the UK?
I worked full-time, but it was for very short periods.
Okay.
So I kind of just want to say part-time.
Okay.
But I basically graduated, and then as soon as I graduated, I came here and worked here. So I didn't have a job after I graduated in England.
Well, how about working with different cultures? Maybe here you're more immersed in the Korean style culture, although here is quite, how can I say, light compared to being in a real Korean company.
So.
But have you noticed just cultural differences between working here in Korea to the UK?
I felt like in the UK it was a bit more team orientated, a bit more casual, and you could joke about. But for us, we work very kind of independently with our students. So I think it's very unique here. But from what I've heard from my students, it sounds like overtime's super common. They have to work day and night. Generally, the work culture in Korea is hyper intense. People retire quite early compared to England, or get
Not
kind
by
of pushed.
Choice,
Kind of get pushed.
That's
So
a sad thing. Yes.
that's something
Retirement's
I
really early.
But as for healthcare, things like that, it's all good here.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
really cheap.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
All right, and John, how about you? In America, maybe comparing American society or culture in the workplace to Korea.
So I came from, I've worked, for many years of my life. I've been full-time since probably, I want to say 16 or 17 years old. But all my experiences were very random. I would just find full-time work wherever I could get it, kind of thing. And so I think I had quite an interesting transition. Probably my first year here was quite difficult because I was trying to learn not only how to work in a foreign country, but also how to work in a more regular environment, if you want to say it like that. Because I had a lot of irregular jobs, meaning not, I guess service industry is quite regular, but it's still not like this. So as for differences, I would say for my personal experience working service, construction, and different types of jobs, nothing is provided for the employee.
Right.
You get your paycheck and your taxes are taken out and you're sent home. So it's you don't get, like you were just saying, you don't get your health insurance. You don't get any sort of 401k or benefits or pension or anything like that. Technically we have Social Security, yes, but everything you get is kind of just from your own money.
Okay.
Now, I do know corporations will provide stuff like that, but I've never worked in one before, so that's just my personal thing.
What do you think was like probably the most shocking thing about first working here in Korea?
I don't know if there's one thing that was shocking. It was just all kind of new.
There's a lot of things.
There's a lot. It was a lot for me,
Yes.
and I don't think I was prepared as I was hoping.
Now, Chantal, like, even though you've worked for the same company, you've worked for two different branches of the same company,
Yes,
right?
yes.
But over a period of 5 years?
Yes.
Yep. So tell us a little bit about your experiences when first working here.
Okay, first thing that was very, very difficult. And this is something you guys didn't mention is many teachers that start here, we start working at 7 a.m. in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And my previous job in South Africa was 8:30 until like 4:30. I did overtime a lot, but I went to work at 8:30 because I'm not a
Okay.
morning person. I'm not a morning person at all. And for me to get to work at 7, I normally wake up like 5:20 in the morning. And I still, 5 years later, I need 5 alarms because I am just simply not a morning person.
I have 5
Right.
alarms.
Yes.
3 near me and 2 across
20.
the room.
I literally, my phone is just green
A
with
cell
alarms.
phone. My cell phone is 4 alarms, and then I have an old one that rings. Yes.
Jeez, I don't even
use
own
it
a clock.
every
Yeah.
single time. I'm so paranoid because not being on time for the classes. They're really strict. It's a very
Yeah, well,
strict
of
thing of the
course,
company.
Yeah.
So I literally even get nightmares about not
Yeah,
being
yeah.
I've had
on
nightmares.
time.
Yeah, me too.
So that's trauma. But
How about, can you briefly explain what South African working culture is like?
okay, it really depends on the company
Of
you're
course.
working for.
Yeah.
So the company I worked for last, it was a sales and marketing company. And it was quite, I think, a lot of the departments were quite intense. So it really, yes, my experience in that company was working environments were tough. I loved my colleagues, and the company itself was stable and everything, but my department was high pressure. So for me coming to Pagoda, it was totally different, but it felt easier, because I love people. So that's an easy part of the job for me is I like talking to people, and I feel it's easy for me to teach and to show and to train basically. But back to the original question, it really absolutely depends on the company you're working
of course.
for.
Yeah, in all of our countries, really, to be honest.
Some companies are super strict, some are really easygoing. Like if you work for the government, they've got their set of rules. So I can't give you an exact, definition of working in South Africa.
What's something, I hope I don't throw you off with this question, what's something you really enjoy about working in Korea?
I enjoy getting to meet so many different people, not just the students, the teachers.
We're from all over the place.
Yes, this broadened my world in ways I can't imagine. Because in South Africa, I was exposed to mainly South Africans. Sometimes you'd come across an odd tourist when you drinking in the pub or the bar, whatever. So coming here, I was exposed to Australians and British people and Canadians and Americans and etc. And that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
I gotta
Yes.
ditto that point.
And
like,
even the Korean students, like I adore my students most of the time as well, and most of the time.
All of the time.
you know who you are.
So, John, you also agree with this, right?
Yeah. So, like in America, there's a lot of cultures and races and everyone who actually, immigrated there. However, kind of interacting with them, you still have this baseline of the Americanism, the political baseline of like, we are all Americans. Now, we might come from different cultures, but we have this Americanness underneath it all. I think that's kind of a shocking thing to a lot of people, but it's there. So when I came here, it was just like very interesting to meet people whose culture is just so different, or whose baseline is so different, or whose philosophy is so different.
Right.
And it just was like amazing. It was the reason I wanted to live overseas.
Yeah.
Same.
It's exactly that reason. And so when I got here and that came out to be true, I was like stoked.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah. Even meeting other people or other nationalities kind of makes me think differently about my own country as well.
Right.
Like my country's history and everything, you know. Any younger person who ever gets the opportunity should try
I
and
definitely
live and
recommend
work
it.
abroad for at least a year or two. It really changes the way you think of so many things, and it makes you grow, really, I think.
Yeah.
You grow spiritually
Definitely.
and emotionally and everything, so it's a very, you know, enriching experience.
Yeah. You kind of realize how small our own personal
Yes,
world was
your
before.
bubble,
Yeah,
yes.
it's also when I came here, my bubble just
Yeah, but in a good way.
exactly right. I was like, no, there's a whole new world outside of England.
All right. Well, for me, I've been working here for almost 8 years, 7.5 years now, and I've worked for 4 different companies, starting but mainly all education. So I started off at a smaller academy for children. Now, working there, apart from the children, if we move past the children part, yeah, it was, to be honest with you, it was a stepping stone. Then I moved to here, Pagoda, and it's just like luxury compared to the places I've been to. I feel like I have a bit more freedom here. I can do other things as well, and we're actually really lucky how good our managers are,
Yeah.
and
We
how
have fantastic
Shout out to the
managers.
managers.
and even just how good our colleagues,
Yeah.
right? Colleagues and managers, they really make the work environment,
They do.
right? Yeah.
Colleagues.
So, like they say that employees, they don't leave companies, they leave bosses. So,
Oh, I like that.
so
It's
that-
very true.
It's very true.
think
So, like for my first company, I left because of my boss. I think I may have stayed longer, but I definitely left because of my boss. And the people here, even though we're not like someone mentioned earlier that we're not really connected like a team. It's individual, but we all get along pretty well and we talk amongst each other and.
Get together,
Which is-
hang out
With-
together.
Okay, before we wrap up today, we're all going to give our sort of hot tip to working here in Korea. So we'll start with Sam.
Mine's a pretty basic one. It's just study and be aware of the culture differences because you're gonna come across them in a workplace. So please just like understand that maybe something in our home country is maybe like seen as maybe wrong or bad, isn't in another country.
Yeah.
So just be aware, like that's
Cultural
how we do
differences, yeah.
things in Korea, and we're basically a guest in another country.
Yes.
So
Yeah, so I'm gonna bounce off that, but also kind of add like don't just assume something. You're gonna meet situations and people who automatically rub you the wrong way, or you'll meet them and it'll automatically seem wrong to you, or they will get mad at you for something you don't even understand why. So don't assume anything. Just be open-minded and say, okay, why is this happening? Talk to them, be a little bit open about it. But sometimes, like you said, you just got to accept it and roll on. To say, well, that was a bad situation and I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah.
Mine is a little different. I've read a lot of horror stories of people just joining random private academies, and people are doing it illegally, and the companies are doing it illegally. We are very, very lucky. This is my first company in Korea, and they do everything by the book, basically. If you are looking at coming to Korea specifically to teach, do your homework. Like, look online for reviews of the private academies, especially. The schools tend to follow the rules more. There are many private academies called hagwons. They hire, but very often working environments are really hard, or they're doing a lot of like small illegal things. So do your homework. There are too many people that come abroad not doing that, and they're stuck in a terrible situation, not being paid, you know, getting into trouble with the private academy owner. So that's something, even if I don't know someone, if I hear someone's coming, I just tell them, just make sure of the company. You know, like
Do your
there are
research.
many companies and many fantastic places to work at, but there are also unfortunately many not so good employers that do take advantage of new people coming to Korea.
Right.
So be aware of that. That's my big tip I would give as well.
That was actually my tip that I was
Oh,
thinking
I'm
of. I think my tip is just to understand that I think Korea is still quite conservative, like in relations to like if you compare it to our other countries,
true.
it's kind of conservative compared to others, in my opinion.
Yeah.
if you go to actual company, it's going to be a little bit more conservative in my opinion.
Yes.
But I think you're pretty lucky if you go to a good academy,
Yes.
English academy though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're lucky with that. We don't really have like the whole company dinner
Yes.
culture, and that's
Yeah.
big in Korea.
Right.
But we have a lot of freedom here, actually.
That's true. So everyone, that hope that like gives you some information about working here in Korea. It's not just our experiences. There's probably many other people out there, and maybe people who watch as well have experienced maybe working in Korea or even traveling around Korea. So until next time, make sure to always
Like.
Comment.
Subscribe.
and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye bye.